On the evening of June 2, 2023, a 35-year-old mother of 4 named Ajike Owens did something that millions of parents do every single day. She went to speak to a neighbor about her children. Her neighbor had been yelling at her kids for years, cursing at them, calling them hateful names, making life miserable for a family that had done nothing wrong. That evening, the neighbor had thrown a roller skate at AJ's 10-year-old son, hitting him in the foot. AJ was done. She walked to the neighbor's door, knocked, and called out for the woman to come outside and face her. Her 10-year-old son stood at her side. The door stayed closed. And then a single bullet came through it. AJ Owens collapsed on the ground in front of her child, shot through the chest. She was taken to hospital. She did not survive. Her name was Ajike Owens. She went by AJ. She was a mother, a daughter, a neighbor who was loved by everyone around her, except one person. And the woman who killed her through a locked door tried to walk free. This is her story. Ajike Owens was 35 years old. She was raising 4 children on her own in Ocala, Florida, a small city about 80 miles northwest of Orlando. Her children ranged in age from 3 to 12. Neighbors described AJ as the kind of person who made a community feel like a community. She watched out for other people's children as if they were her own. She was loud with her love and generous with her time. In her tight-knit apartment complex, she was the person everyone called when they needed something. Her mother, Pamela Diaz, later said that AJ had big plans, dreams she shared with her mother on the phone, futures she talked about out loud. She had no idea that one neighbor, one woman with a long-running fixation on her children, would take all of that away. Susan Louise Lorincz was 58 years old and had lived in the same complex for years. And for years, she had made the lives of the families around her miserable, particularly when it came to children playing outside. Since January 2021, the Marion County Sheriff's Office had responded to approximately 6 documented calls involving Lorincz and AJ's household. The source of the tension was always the same: children playing in a grassy area near Lorincz's apartment, a space she had decided was hers, despite the fact that it was shared community property. Neighbors described Lorincz as angry almost all the time. She would shout at the children, curse at them using some of the most hateful language imaginable. According to her own confession to detectives, she called AJ's children the N-word on multiple occasions. On the evening before the shooting, she stepped outside and told the children, "Get away from my house, you black slaves." Some neighbors believed she was not just reacting to the noise. They believed she was deliberately taunting the children to provoke their mother into confronting her. Whether that was her plan or not, it worked. On the evening of June 2, 2023, Lorincz had been outside again. This time, she got into an altercation with 3 children in the grassy area. When AJ's 10-year-old son confronted her, she threw a pair of roller skates at him. One struck him in the foot. The boy and his 12-year-old brother went to Lorincz's door to confront her. She opened it and swung an umbrella at them. The children went back to their mother and told her what happened. AJ Owens was already on the phone with the sheriff's office. Deputies were already on their way. But AJ could not wait. She walked to Lorincz's door, knocked repeatedly, and called out demanding that Lorincz come outside and face her. Her 10-year-old son stood right beside her. The door was closed. Locked. There was no window in it. Lorincz could not see who was standing outside. And yet, she raised a .380 caliber handgun and fired a single bullet directly through the locked door. The bullet struck AJ Owens in the upper chest. Deputies arrived moments later to find her on the ground, bleeding. She was transported to hospital and pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Her 10-year-old son had been standing beside her when she was shot. What happened next made a terrible situation even worse. Susan Lorincz was not immediately arrested. In the hours after the shooting, investigators said they were still processing evidence and interviewing witnesses. Lorincz remained in her apartment. The community outside erupted. By June 5, 3 days after AJ's death, approximately 30 protesters had gathered outside the Marion County Judicial Center, demanding Lorincz's arrest. The state attorney came outside to address them. He asked for patience. The reason for the delay was not a lack of evidence. It was Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Stand Your Ground, enacted in Florida in 2005 and since adopted by 28 other states, gives individuals the legal right to use deadly force if they have a reasonable belief they are in imminent danger, without requiring them to retreat first. It was the same law that entered national consciousness in 2012 after Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old black teenager in Sanford, Florida, was shot and killed by George Zimmerman, who was acquitted under that same doctrine. Lorincz immediately invoked "Stand Your Ground." She told detectives she feared for her life, that she heard pounding on her door, that she was in mortal danger. She fired through a locked door at a woman she could not see, who was unarmed, while police were already on their way. On June 6, 4 days after the shooting, Lorincz was finally arrested. The sheriff himself addressed the media and stated clearly, "Stand your ground did not apply here." Firing through a locked door at an unseen person who posed no clear and present threat was not self-defense. But the debate had already begun. The trial of Susan Lorincz was held in August 2024 in Marion County Circuit Court. The defense argued that Lorincz had no choice, that she was terrified, that she heard aggressive pounding, that she suffered from PTSD linked to a history of abuse, and that in that moment, she genuinely believed her life was in danger. The prosecution argued the opposite. AJ Owens was unarmed. The door was locked. There was no evidence she was attempting to break in. Police were already en route. Lorincz had every option available to her other than pulling the trigger. She chose to fire anyway. Witnesses testified about the months and years of harassment, about the racial slurs, about the pattern of Lorincz targeting these children again and again. One neighbor said bluntly that Lorincz was the only person in that complex who ever had a problem with the kids outside. The jury, all 6 members, deliberated for 2.5 hours. They found Susan Lorincz guilty of manslaughter with a firearm. Across the courtroom, AJ's family broke down. One family member called out, "Oh God! Thank you, Jesus!" In November 2024, Judge Robert Hodges sentenced Lorincz to 25 years in prison. He called the shooting completely unnecessary. He noted that Lorincz was behind a locked door, that law enforcement was already on the way, that there was no real risk of AJ breaking in, and that the evidence pointed to the shooting being driven more by anger than by genuine fear. The shooting was completely unnecessary in this case, the judge said. AJ's mother, Pamela Diaz, addressed the court before sentencing. She said, "I stand before you not only mourning the loss of my daughter, but also the loss of our hopes, dreams, and the future that we often spoke of. Our plans and promises to one another as mother and daughter will never come to light. They all died the night Susan Lorincz killed my daughter." In 2025, filmmaker Geeta Ganber, whose sister-in-law was AJ's close friend, released a documentary on Netflix called The Perfect Neighbor. It told AJ's story almost entirely through found footage, police body camera recordings, 911 calls, deputies' audio, neighbor cell phone videos. The viewer is placed inside the timeline of events in real time, watching a neighborhood dispute slowly, terrifyingly escalate to a point of no return. The film won 5 awards at the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, including Best Documentary Feature, Best Director, and Best True Crime Documentary. It won the Directing Award at Sundance. It received an Oscar nomination for Best Documentary Feature at the 2026 Academy Awards. Critics called it one of the most important true crime films ever made, not because it was sensational, but because it refused to be. It centered AJ. It centered her children. It centered her community. And it asked a question that no one watching could avoid. How is it that a woman can fire a gun blindly through a locked door, at a person she could not see, and the law had to be argued over before she could even be arrested? The killing of Ajike Owens reignited a national debate that America has never fully resolved. Stand Your Ground laws now exist in 29 states. Critics argue they disproportionately protect white shooters and disproportionately leave black victims without justice. Studies have shown that cases involving white shooters and black victims are far more likely to be deemed justified under Stand Your Ground than the reverse. Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, and now AJ Owens. In each case, the law designed to protect people from danger was used, or attempted to be used, as a shield by those who caused the danger. As of 2025, Lorincz is serving her 25-year sentence at the Homestead Correctional Institution in Florida. She has filed an appeal. AJ's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit. AJ's 4 children, who were between 3 and 12 years old when they lost their mother, are still growing up. Ajike Owens was 35 years old. She had 4 children and a mother who loved her and a community that needed her. She knocked on a door to protect her son. She was unarmed. She was outside. The door was locked. And she was shot dead. There is nothing complicated about what happened to AJ Owens. A woman was killed for being a mother who stood up for her children. The system hesitated. The law had to be argued. And a community lost something it will never get back. AJ Owens deserved to go home that night. She deserved to see her children graduate, to hold grandchildren, to grow old beside her mother. Instead, her 10-year-old son watched her fall. Say her name. Subscribe to Quick Crime Vault. Every case in this vault deserves to be told. We'll see you in the next vault.